Here on the Radio Wammo Breakfast. Time for some geek action, this time with Calvin joining us from Mohawk Studios in Wellington City. Good morning, Calvin.
Good morning, Wammo.
Good morning. Now, we're talking image processing this morning. Photography tools, I suppose, would be an umbrella term. Something that I guess many more people are getting into now that everyone's got a digital camera in their pocket in the form of a smartphone or a point-and-shoot device. So let's look towards the future, I guess.
Yeah, well, at the end of this little piece, I'll tell you how no one's ever going to have a blurred photograph ever again.
Okay, cool.
But it's going to come from several different places. Arthur C. Clarke said many years ago that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And this is really starting to apply in image processing technology.
Huh.
Anyone who uses Photoshop on a regular basis will have had their minds blown last year when version 5 came out, and they came up with this feature called content-aware fill, which means you can delete a piece of an image, and it will look around the rest of that image to think what might have been behind whatever it is you've deleted.
Okay.
And then it will fill that in. So for anybody watching on the video stream right now, there's a picture of a desert with a road running through it that someone's just selected the road and said, delete that road.
Okay.
And it spends a couple of minutes looking away, looking at some of the other things available, and goes, oh, there's some bits of sand, bits of plant, and it fills where the road was with bits of sand and bits of plant.
Wow. And it hasn't it hasn't strictly copied something to the left or right. It's kind of randomized it a little bit.
Yeah, it's taken bits from all around and made something that just looks very like it.
Wow.
Now, it's not 100% perfect, but it gets you to somewhere where normally it would have taken a skilled Photoshop artist, quite some time, maybe 10 minutes to half an hour of careful cloning from other bits of the image to build up that background again.
Yeah.
So it's quite amazing. And this has been around for a couple of years. And I really just wanted to mention this just to get over the fact that we're using software now on a regular basis that does things that 10 years ago, had you said your software will do that, I would have said, no, mate.
Yeah.
You're lying. That's magic. That can't be done.
Is it advanced enough to say take Sally out of the photograph and put in Rachel, the one that you actually wanted to be in the photograph in the first place? Can it do that?
Well, take people out.
Yeah, say, look, I'm disappointed that person was in the photograph. I really wanted this person. It's not smart enough to know who you actually want anyway. Probably
not quite, but it will give you the tools to do it.
Okay.
There's, how in motion graphics, quite frequently things are filmed against a green screen to make it easy to remove the background. There's a Photoshop plugin. I haven't got a graphic prepared for this, and I can't remember what it's called, but there's a Photoshop plugin out there that looks at the amount of blur on an image and goes, well, if it's blurred, it's probably background. So as long as you've got your subject sharp, it will remove everything that's blurred. Okay. So without having a green screen, you can just simply use the depth of field information from the photograph to remove that person or that item or that background.
That's pretty cool. And just
which is pretty neat.
Just as an extension of that, and I don't have an image of it either, but there's a camera coming out that's basically a long cylinder. I can't remember what it's called, but basically it will take in one shot, or I guess over the period of a few seconds, it will take a bunch of digital photos from all across the spectrum of the depth of field. So then later on, you can choose what you want to be in focus when you...
What you're talking about is the Lightroom camera.
That's it.
Which is showing... That's it, showing up on the screen now for anybody who's tuning in. And what the Lightroom does is it's different to what you described. It in a single moment, faster than a normal camera because it doesn't have to focus. It captures the complete light field. So what it captures is essentially not just the color of every pixel, but it knows which direction the light beam is coming. So by capturing this massive amount of information in one go, it means that you focus after the fact, and you do the focusing in software.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a picture up on the screen just showing that it's got a big load of lenses before it hits the sensor. But what it allows is an f2 aperture lens, so huge amounts of light coming through, and then the ability to just capture the entire image instantaneously without having to wait for focus.
Yeah.
And then you do the focus later. And the focus can act, the focus, it's not so much you do the focus later, then publish the image.
Yeah.
You can publish an image with a special viewer that lets you choose focus.
Let's the viewer choose the focus.
Yeah, so I've got an image up on the screen at the moment of, in the front of the screen is an arc of water from a water fountain.
Yeah.
And in the back is some people looking at a rocket, a big 1930s style rocket stood up.
Yeah.
And if I click on the water in the water fountain, that goes sharp and the rest of the image grows blurry.
Cool.
If I click on the image in the background, the water fountain in the front goes blurry.
That is very nice.
Which is phenomenal ability to do. Just choose your point of depth of field, and then the rest of the photo is calculated from that.
So, I mean, it is very, very cool. Great technology. But in your view, I mean, is it just a gimmick, or is there any practical application for this?
Well, the practical application is that you can pull out your camera and immediately take a picture. You don't have to worry about focus. And focus and depth of field is something you can worry about later when you determine what the best composition for that photograph is. So it allows you to react quicker, and it allows you to make those artistic decisions of depth of field at a later date in software, not in the lens. So what that basically means is there will never be a blurred picture ever again where you didn't want it to be blurred.
Yeah.
So, and then the last thing I want to talk about is another deblurring thing that Adobe have just recently demonstrated at a conference. And they refuse to say whether it'll be in the next version of Photoshop or not. They're just saying, hey, look, we've got maths, this does cool stuff. But we suspect that this is going to be in the next version of Photoshop. And what this does is this removes motion blur. So if you've taken a picture and it was in a bit of low light and it's blurred slightly, this will analyze exactly how you shook the camera, and then it will unshake the camera.
Golly.
So there's an example on screen which is showing someone had taken a picture of a telephone number and it was blurred because of camera shake. Small amount of image processing, and suddenly that number is readable again.
Wow. This sort of technology would have come out from, say, forensic, analyzation of, videos and photography, surely.
I think this has been the motivating factor behind some of this stuff, yeah. That's where an awful lot of image processing gurus do things, and an awful lot of image processing software ends up in this realm. Anyway, I used to use a piece of real-time facial animation capture software 10 years ago would capture animation data from a single camera on a single face. And then that got bought out by a security firm.
Yeah.
And it was 8 years before there was another piece of animation software that could do anything remotely like that, because that had been bought out by the security world.
This is really the realization of the science fiction in Blade Runner, isn't it? Where he takes an image and he's like zoom, and then
zoom, enhance.
Yeah. It's all of that. Wow.
It's just like that. And I remember watching that as an image graphics professional, watching Blade Runner, going, nah, they'll never do that. That's beyond the realms of physics and stuff. But when you look at what they're doing with image processing now, you realize that Blade Runner wasn't that magical, that this sort of stuff would be possible. There's a lot of software now dedicated to filling in the high resolution detail by taking image from frames before and after something in an animation. Or if you've filmed something, like you've filmed in ordinary video resolution, a moving camera shot, you can also take a high resolution still shot, and there's routines that will fill in extra information in the video from the still shot that you've taken. So if you want to zoom into the video and there's no detail there in the video, it will try and find a still of that bit of something that was happening in the video to try and fill it in. Wow. So it's quite amazing. We're heading into a period of time where image processing and image manipulation technology is actually almost getting beyond what we can imagine.
And eventually, a bunch of all this stuff will just be all done on your phone. It'll all be incorporated into the one device.
Yeah. Or if it's not done on your phone will send the processing requirements out to the cloud, and it will be delivered to your phone.
Yeah, indeed. Really cool stuff. Well, if you want to see this as a video once more, you can, and all the images we've just been talking about and the technology, it's up at thegeekshow.com, 2 3s rather than 2 E's. It'll be up just a little bit later on today. And Calvin on Twitter as well, twitter.com/CHELFYN. Thanks, Calvin. See ya.
Okay, cheers.
Here's Wilds, a track here called Revolution. Kiwi.